Welcome to Chalice Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are a community of diverse beliefs and experiences, nurturing the liberal religious spirit and united by our desire to grow in love and in service. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your life's journey, you are welcome here. Whether you gather with us every Sunday, once or twice a year, or you are with us for the first time this morning, we are glad you are here. I'm Ann McKernan, your worship associate today. Our service is led by our Spirit Study group, consisting of Kate, Amber, Sarah, and Tom, and Laura. I'm like, I know I'm missing somebody in that list, and Laura, and who are all members of the Board of Trustees. Well, this is just a portion of the board. This process was fully supported by the entire board. This is the third lay-led service based on Tima Okun's work on white supremacy culture and its antidotes. Our worship musician this morning is Tim McKnight. Our song leader is Callie Leaf. Our tech team is Hope Campbell, Dean Gaudette, and Sarah Komnick. And our greeters are Kathy Zapata and Alec Bergamini. Again, welcome to our Sunday worship service. Welcome to those of you here in the chapel, and welcome to those of you online. For those of us here in the chapel, you will notice that we have the windows open. This is to ensure good air circulation in the room. There's also 4 air purifiers, but if you feel uncomfortable for any reason, please feel free to step out into the patio where you can hear through the speakers out there what's going on in here. We are always delighted to see newcomers joining us in worship. And as a newcomer, you might be interested in the groups and activities we offer. A good way to get this information is through our email newsletter and e-news calendar. Online, newcomers will receive an email invitation to join our email list after the service. And for in-person newcomers, if you haven't already given us your email address when you signed in, please share it with us before you leave. Our weekly email is the best way to get information about the many groups and activities we offer here at Chalice. And now, let's take a breath together.
we acknowledge that our service is taking place on the stolen territory of the Kumeyaay, meaning humans or people, and the Payamkawishim, meaning Western people. A land acknowledgement works to undo the intentional erasure of Indigenous people and to support the resilience and strength that all Indigenous people have shown. We acknowledge the original inhabitants as a first and critical step toward learning and working with Indigenous communities to secure meaningful partnership and inclusion in the stewardship and protection of their cultural resources and sacred homeland.
Our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. I'd like to invite Debbie Street Idell to light our chalice this morning. This morning's chalice lighting words are read each month at the Chalice Board of Trustees meeting. A Spark of Hope by Melanie Davis. If ever there were a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice.
These bells will ring when peace is come. These bells will ring when peace is come. And peace will come when the world is one. Peace will come when the world is one.
These bells will ring when peace is come. These bells will ring when peace is come. And peace will come when the world is one. Peace will come when the world is one.
These bells will ring when peace is come. These bells will ring when peace is come. And peace will come when the world is one. Peace will come when the world is one. This winter day, reach out your hand to those who struggle to stand. Save your prayers, reach out your hand to those who struggle to stand. Save your prayers and join the call. May freedom's voice be heard by all. This winter day, come join the call. May freedom's song be sung by all. These bells will ring when peace is come. These bells will ring when peace is come. And peace will come when the world is one. Peace will come when the world is one. Peace
The words of our call to worship this morning come from Audre Lorde. You do not have to be me in order for us to fight alongside each other. I do not have to be you to recognize that our wars are the same. What we must do is commit ourselves to some future that can include each other and to work toward that future with the particular strengths of our individual identities. And in order for us to do this, we must allow each other our differences at the same time as we recognize our sameness.
Inspired by the Christian observance of Advent, we approach the winter holidays by lighting candles in the 4 weeks before Christmas. The tradition of Advent candles reaches back to pre-Christian Northern Europeans. During the darkest days of winter, they lit as many as 24 candles on an evergreen-covered wheel or wreath. By lighting a candle a day, they marked time, anticipating the return of the sun's light and warmth. Now we light candles to remind us of the gathering darkness and the blessings to be found in the many stories and symbols of this time of year.
I'm sorry, this one's going to remain seated. This is 10:55. Tim will play it through, and then we'll sing all 3 verses.
Our Sunday worship is the shared spiritual practice of our community, and we tend to the congregation during this time by sharing our joys and sorrows. Here in the chapel, you are welcome to write your joy or sorrow onto a candle card, which will be collected from you. Online, please write your joy or sorrow, including your name, into the chat box. These joys and sorrows will be spoken out loud, and then we will remove this part of the service from the recording that goes onto our YouTube channel. So the sharing will not be publicly available online. So we have a few minutes of music so you can write down what you would like to share. If you would like to send Reverend Sharon a confidential note about your joy or sorrow, or to make a prayer request, please email her. Her email address will be on screen in a moment.
My name is BB Gunn, and I am the fastest draw in 3rd grade. Why, I can draw a cat in 45 seconds, a flower in 8 seconds, and a dog in 30 seconds.
And my name is Todd. I love to draw, but it takes me such a long time. I can never keep up with BB. So I've decided to be BB's assistant. With my help, she can draw even faster.
Are you ready for art class, Todd? Let's try to break our record of most artwork in 1 hour.
Ready, BB. Let's do it. I will pass you a new crayon whenever you are ready.
Awesome!
Okay, class, it's time for art.
Oh, red. Blue. Okay, and green.
Okay, class, art is over.
Oh man, that was the fastest hour ever.
BB, look at you. We have counting, let's see. We have over 300 drawings.
Todd, did you draw all those pictures?
No, I can't draw. BB drew them, all of them.
Well, what did you draw?
I didn't draw anything.
Why not? Don't you like art?
I love art, but I'm not any good. It would have taken me the whole period to draw just one picture, and BB could draw 100 pictures in an hour. But with my help, BB was able to draw 300 pictures. That's a lot more art.
Well, that is not exactly how you measure art. It isn't how many pictures you can make, it's how good the pictures are. In fact, a person could spend their whole life drawing just one picture of a cat. In that time, I'm sure BB could draw 1 million cats.
Probably 2 million.
But if that one picture is better than each of BB's 2 million pictures, then that person has produced more art than BB.
I thought your pictures were good, BB.
Well, I'm leaving.
Where are you off to?
I'm going home to draw a picture of a cat.
Cool. Can you show it to me tomorrow?
Tomorrow? Ha! By tomorrow, I won't even be finished with a single whisker.
It is Not Perfect by Anna Kang, illustrated by Christopher Wyant. It is perfect. What? It is not perfect. No? Almost. It needs flags. We can use these. Now it is perfect. Yes, but the towers could be taller. Now it is perfect. Yay! Pat, pat, pat. What? It is not perfect. That wall is too small. It is? It should be wider. Pat, pat, pat. Dig, dig, dig. Perfect. Well, except it needs more towers. And it needs arches and windows and stairs and a gatehouse and a drawbridge. Moat! Ploink! It is perfect. Smile. Splash. Click. Wow. All that work. What a shame. Too bad.
perfect. Truly.
As the children leave for class, we sing them out. Walk on your path with a song so sweet, that everywhere you go there is love all around. Walk on your path with a song so sweet, that everywhere you go there is love all around.
An evolutionary biologist at Purdue University named William Muir studied chickens. He was interested in productivity. I think it's something that concerns all of us. But it's easy to measure in chickens because you just count the eggs. He wanted to know what could make his chickens more productive, so he devised a beautiful experiment. Chickens live in groups, so first of all he selected just an average flock, and he let it alone for 6 generations. But then he created a second group of the individually most productive chickens. You could call them super chickens. And he put them together in a super flock. And each generation he selected only the most productive for breeding. After 6 generations had passed, what did he find? Well, the first group, the average group, was doing just fine. They were all plump and fully feathered, and egg production had increased dramatically. What about the second group? Well, all but 3 were dead. They'd pecked the rest to death. The individually productive chickens had only achieved their success by suppressing the productivity of the rest. Now, as I've gone around the world talking about this and telling this story in all sorts of organizations and companies, people have seen the relevance almost instantly, and they come up and they say things to me like, that super flock, that's my company. Or, that's my country. Or, that's my life. All my life I've been told that the way we have to get ahead is to compete. Get into the right school, get into the right job, get to the top. And I've really never found it very inspiring. I've started and run businesses because invention is a joy, and because working alongside brilliant, creative people is its own reward. And I've never really felt very motivated by pecking orders or by super chickens or by superstars. But for the past 50 years, we've run most organizations and some societies along the super chicken model. We've thought that success is achieved by picking the superstars, the brightest men or occasionally women in the room, and giving them all the resources and all the power. And the result has been just the same as in William Muir's experiment: aggression, dysfunction, and waste. If the only way the most productive can be successful is by suppressing the productivity of the rest, then we badly need to find a better way to work and a richer way to live.
So I first heard about this TED Talk and the super chicken research a few years ago on the radio, and I was fascinated. How had things gone so wrong for the super chickens? I pictured these stressed out chickens, so driven to be the most productive chickens ever, cracking under the strain of their own ambition. And while that's probably not really what happened here, I don't think chickens are really that deep. It was an image that stayed with me, and like the speaker in this talk, I was reminded of many of the messages that we hear in our culture about how to be a success. As she said, get into the right school, get into the right job, get to the top. And the only way to get there is by beating out the competition. When I read about the white supremacy culture principle of progress is bigger and more, I recognized these messages again. Tima Okun writes, progress is measured in degrees, grades, money, power, status, material belongings, with little or no ability to consider the cost of growth in social, emotional, psychic, embodied, spiritual, and financial realms. Now, in the super chicken research, the costs were obvious. The chickens died. What do those costs look like for us? And how might we see things differently if we took those costs into account? We might feel more freedom to explore a range of interests instead of narrowly pursuing the elite degree or the prestigious job title. We might be empowered to practice better self-care and demand a better work-life balance for ourselves. We might choose not to patronize companies that follow a business model of growth at all costs, treating their employees as a disposable resource. Now, in our discussions about the principles of progress is bigger and more and quantity over quality, we wanted to acknowledge that there's nothing inherently wrong with setting goals and working towards them. Maybe that prestigious job really is a great fit for you. And there's nothing inherently wrong with growing in numbers. What we hope to keep in mind is that there are always costs and benefits. Tima Okun writes that we should consider all the costs, not just the financial ones. For example, the cost in morale, the cost in credibility, the cost in relationship to living beings, the cost in use of resources, and also reminds us to distinguish between growth, which is necessary and organic, and the conditioned desire for more stuff, more transactional power, more people, more for its own sake. Now, I'd like to invite Kate up to talk more about these ideas as they relate to our community here at Chalice.
Hello, my name is Kate. I know the vast majority of you here, but just in case, to reintroduce myself, I'm currently serving as the president of the Board of Chalice Trustees. I am also fairly convinced that 30% of you think I'm Laura Brown, because we do look very similar. So not Laura one. My heart is so full of Chalice this morning as we are coming off a very meaningful day of church yesterday. Richard's Memorial and the Chalice Winter Party. Just as an aside, a really big thanks to Laura, Wendy, Suzanne Hamilton, Rip and Tina, Jody and Joel for a really great celebration. I mean, also, like everyone still wants to do that, yes? So my heart is very, very grateful today, and it's that feeling I want to bring forth speaking with you all today. I invite you to join us in reflection as we continue this series on imagining liberation. If you're not familiar with Tima Okun's characteristics of white supremacy culture, Tima identified characteristics that identify and challenge patterns embedded in our culture that perpetuate systemic racism. We've heard from the previous lecture talks on the characteristics, the antidotes of fear and one right way. Today, we're exploring the idea of quantity over quality. As you'll hear this, you'll see in particular, this is a great topic for your board, who you all have agreed and entrusted to lead Chalice forward. It's a lot of trust, and I want you all to know that we take this seriously, and I thank my board brothers and sisters for walking this journey alongside us together. Earlier this morning, you saw that Sarah discuss with us the value of creating a culture where problems are solved through working together. This is pretty revolutionary because our culture values hero worship, having one charismatic leader who builds a following based on one great idea. Unfortunately, we've seen how this hinders progress time and time again as the leader dies, or turns out not to be so much the hero we thought that they were. She reminds us that culture is co-created and pretty automatic unless we take a conscious look at things. You also saw a lively skit from Tom, Laura, and Sarah. In it, you saw how powerful it can be when we examine our desire for more, simply for the sake of having more, and create something worth sharing. Now that we've highlighted the importance of being mindful, you may all be also asking yourself, how can this be bad? What's so wrong with having more people, having growth? We can all agree we'd love to have more people on Sunday at Chalice. We would love a thriving RE program, hub rentals, more members of our various programs here at Chalice. Where growth can go wrong is when we are seeing in our culture of growth at all costs. Our relentless pursuit for progress, we often prioritize technological innovation and economic growth at the expense of environmental sustainability and the interconnectedness of life. As UUs, we really value our ability to see and hold dear the interconnectedness, interdependent web of life. We see how relentless progress, which many of us were sold as the solution, has become a problem, as it fuels unprecedented levels of inequality that we see today. Chima Okun's work has really challenged us to consider it's important to be mindful. It's not that growth in itself is bad. It's a problem when it's used as a standard without thinking who is served, how they are served, and who growth leaves out. We had some great conversations on the board as we considered how to achieve mindful growth. Her characteristics highlights to us that we have a cultural tendency to value things that can be measured over things that are harder to measure. How do we know if our RE program is providing quality? That's hard to measure. How do we know simply how many children show up week to week? That's easy to measure. How do you measure spiritual and personal growth? That's hard to measure. How do we count how many people show up for services week to week? Well, that's easier to measure. Because it's easier to measure how many members and friends that we have, it's tempting just to simply focus on that and want to grow just that one thing. In order to bring more mindfulness to our consideration of growth, one exercise that we did on the board this year is to ask ourselves a unique question based on the leadership of First Nations people, honoring the ancient, culturally, we know them as Iroquois, but they prefer, I'm sorry, I practiced this and I don't want to screw this up because it's important to me. Haudenosaunee Confederacy philosophy that the decisions we make today should result in a sustainable world 7 generations into the future. In their decision-making, chiefs consider how present-day decisions will impact their descendants 7 generations from now. Nations are taught to respect the world they live as they are borrowing it from future generations. Think about what it would be like to come to Chalice and make decisions that benefit not only yourself and what you want to see, but how 7 generations down the road, folks that will walk into these doors would be directly impacted by your decision. It's really hard to do. The spiritual question interrupts our tendency to value gaining more at any and all costs, including costs to a generation we cannot even see. A second exercise we started to do in each board meeting is inspired how Chima Okun offers us an antidote to white supremacy culture. She says, consider adding measures that keep you grounded in what's important. At the end of every board meeting, we ask ourselves and discuss aloud 4 questions, which I encourage you, all of you leaders in our community, to add this practice to the end of the meeting. The 4 questions we ask is, did we laugh together today? Did we express gratitude? Did we allow silence? Did we allow dissent? I think and hope you'll find that this is a worthy exercise to slow things down a bit and offer a meaningful checkout beyond, this meeting was good. A third spiritual exercise I offer you to interrupt our tendency to rush through the important things is what Buddhist and author Arthur Brooks does every year on his birthday. He makes what he describes as a reverse bucket list. In it, he makes a list of his deeply held political opinions and he crosses them off. as a way to remind himself to cross out the importance of his own deeply held opinions of his life. For just one moment, imagine just one of your deeply held political opinions or beliefs in your mind. Now imagine, poof, a mental deletion of this belief. Just remind yourself that there's a chance that what you held as truth is actually wrong, and that is okay. It takes courage to look at something and consider that what you know may actually be wrong. As I said in my November newsletter to the congregation, which I'm absolutely sure that all of you read, engaging in this and other anti-racism work is a spiritual exercise and our sacred promise to the future. By working hard to build an inclusive and equitable community today, we lay the foundation for a flourishing tomorrow. Our spiritual legacy states that we need to leave this world better for each and every one of us than the world that we were handed. Now, I hand it over to Tom to share his experience with quantity over quality.
Thank you, Kate. That's very nice. So we are talking about when we strive for the maximum quantity or a target goal, we may be missing the really important stuff, the stuff that gives life its value and meaning. I'm a trained scientist, and in my career, I've worked on fusion energy research, and my specialty was how to make measurements of it, which is pretty difficult at times. I use a lot of optics and lasers and things like that. In fusion research, we often try to maximize the energy confinement time or the temperature of our fusion device. But often conditions that lead to the longest confinement time or the highest temperature are not conditions that lead to a well-balanced and controllable device. The most useful situation is when multiple objectives are met simultaneously, and this usually results in a compromise between competing objectives. Often there is no one measurable quantity that expresses the desired result. We sometimes use a spider web diagram to visualize our progress. Could you display the first slide? That's a spider diagram. Let me see where I'm at here. Okay, each radial arm of the web is one of our desired measurable quantities, and we try to grow our web in all directions so it covers the largest area. And here you'll see I'm showing at the top is the temperature, and going clockwise around we have the density, the stability of it, how do we remove the heat, the resistance to impurities coming in, heating efficiency, energy confinement time, sustainability. All these are important quantities for what we're trying to do. Now the blue curve is showing where we achieved a very high temperature, 95% of our goal, and the energy confinement time was pretty good, but the stability of the thing was very poor. The density was quite low, and so we weren't making our objectives. We were only fulfilling some of them. The red curve now shows a situation where we backed off on the temperature a little bit and the energy confinement time, but we were able to expand in other directions. And we filled in, we have a much larger area and a much more stable situation. So then now the idea is to grow the entire circle out. So that's what we have. So the various quantities of the web are actually all interdependent. So when you change one, you change another one, and usually in the opposite direction of where you wanted to go. Okay? So now in Chalice and in our own lives, we strive for a well-balanced approach to fulfilling our mission. Success is one or a few areas. Success in one or a few areas is not enough. So now show the next slide. This is an example slide I just kind of made up out of my head about, say, things at Chalice. So starting at the top, I have spirituality, programs, support groups, community building, membership, facility, music, worship, philosophy, life quality, And there's probably many others. And this is really the job of the board, is to kind of figure out what all these arms should be and how do we assess where we are on them, okay? It's a difficult situation. So this is one where I just as an example. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so of course the challenge is to identify all the important areas and then how to assess progress in those areas. What is a good measurement? And then how does one assemble all those different areas into a coherent picture of Chalice? What I didn't include in my example is costs, both in pledge dollars and in volunteer hours. And then there's the environmental cost. These are also important areas to consider when building an interdependent web. When we value membership numbers or number of programs over the other areas, we tend to unbalance the web and its structure becomes weak and unstable. For example, in recent years and months, the men's breakfast group numbers have been declining. This has been partially due to a number of deaths of the participants. This does not mean that the group is less valuable. In fact, it may be serving a great need for the congregation. But how do we measure this? So the takeaway is to realize that the web is made of many arms and each one needs to be nurtured and supported to make the entire web a success. Thank you.
Seated or standing, please join in hymn number 16 in the gray hymnal. 'Tis a gift to be simple. Yes, we'll sing it through twice.
The Sunday offering is an expression of the generosity that makes our congregational life possible. As Buddhist teacher Sharon Salzberg writes, generosity is characterized by the inner quality of letting go or relinquishing. Being able to let go, to give up, to renounce, to give generously. These capacities spring from the same source within us. When we practice generosity, we open to all of these liberating qualities simultaneously. Please text your donation to Chalice. If you haven't texted a donation before, know that once you text the amount, you'll get a reply with a link to follow to enter your credit card information. If you have already entered this information previously when you've donated, you won't need to enter it again. If your Sunday donation is meant to be part of your pledge payment, please be sure to indicate pledge after the dollar amount. The phone number for text donations will be on the screen in a moment. If you prefer to make an in-person donation of cash or check, there are envelopes in a donation box to the left of the chapel double doors. You can leave these donations after the service. Please give generously. Please join in dedicating our offering with words of affirmation. At Chalice U Congregation, love is at the center of everything we do. One antidote to more is better is gratitude and contentment with what we have. Robin Wall Kimmerer in Braiding Sweetgrass writes, "While expressing gratitude seems simple enough, it is a revolutionary idea. In a consumer society, contentment is a radical proposition. Recognizing abundance rather than scarcity undermines an economy that thrives by creating unmet desires. Gratitude cultivates an ethic of fullness." Let us join together in a responsive prayer by Teresa I. Soto in gratitude for the abundance of life and for our dependence on each other. All that we are, together and individually, is part of the abundance of the universe.
We are made of stars. We are made of earth.
All that we have comes from earth, from labor of those in our communities.
From cities, farms, and oceans that enliven us, the world and those who live in it.
We are surrounded by blessing, by grace, and by possibilities.
We are reflected in every other human being.
We respect and honor one another's differences.
We celebrate our interbeing with abundance and the practice of generosity.
May it be so. You are invited to join in singing.
Seated or standing, please join in singing 145 from the Gray Hymnal as Tranquil Streams. Tim is going to play it through, and then we'll sing all 4 verses.
Our closing words come from Be About the Work by Andrea Hawkins Camper. May we see all as it is, and may it all be as we see it. May we be the ones to make it as it should be. For if not us, who? For if not now, when? This is answering the cry of justice with the work of peace. This is redeeming the pain of history with the grace of wisdom. This is the work we are called to do, and this is the call we answer now, to be the barrier and the bridge, to be the living embodiment of our principles, to be about the work of building the beloved community, to be a people of intention and a people of conscience. Love and blessings to each of you. We together are invited to close our time by singing the well.
No announcements today. Woo!